Hello, my friend, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Daily. My name is Aaron Machbitz. So let's talk about the May 1st edition of Friday Night SmackDown, which some people are saying was boring, an awful show. I don't think it was awful. It wasn't the best show I've ever seen on Friday Night SmackDown, but sometimes it does seem like, specifically on SmackDown, that WWE just kind of says, fuck it, if people watch, cool. If they don't, cool. But I just don't think that's the way forward. Now, there's rumors that CM Punk is going to be on SmackDown on a more consistent basis. It looks like Gunther might be on SmackDown on a more consistent basis. I mean, SmackDown is heavily featuring Danhausen, The Miz, and Kit Wilson, which will now be featured at Backlash. Some people think that CM Punk will be the partner of Danhausen at Backlash. It would be CM Punk versus Danhausen, CM Punk and Danhausen versus The Miz and Kit Wilson at Backlash, which is a very fun match. The thing is, you can't overuse Danhausen. He's doing a really good job in the moments that he's there. And of course, The Miz is excellent. Kit Wilson is excellent. They're doing a fantastic job selling, playing, and executing their role perfectly. More credit needs to go to those two people because we forget that professional wrestling and WWE is entertainment. And The Miz and Kit Wilson are pure entertainment. Now, are they giving us too much Danhausen? That's a question that you need to ask. Will you get sick of these kind of goofy skits after a few weeks? Should it happen every other week, once a month? Should it be more sporadic? Should it be more special? Or should it happen as much as possible? Should WWE squeeze the juice out of Danhausen until it's completely dry and then he kind of fucks off into, oblivion, kind of like Apollo Crews? Or should it be more of a special attraction? I'm not sure which one's the right approach because right now fans seem to be loving it. Danhausen was like top 3 in merch sales during WrestleMania weekend, and so that's incredible. And so WWE is trying to really, really run with it. He might actually have a wrestling match. He might actually wrestle at Backlash, but there's going to be more shenanigans and more stuff like that. John Cena had a great time with Danhausen at WrestleMania, and so do you make him a special attraction or you just keep throwing him out there until he starts getting zero reactions and then you pull back a little bit and then maybe changes the flavor on how you use him, potentially. But credit has to go to Danhausen, The Miz, and Kit Wilson for continually, every week, being extremely entertaining and also being a bright spot on SmackDown, because some people are saying, again, the May 1st edition of Friday Night SmackDown, they're saying it's awful, bad, everything sucked. But there were a couple things that I did enjoy, like Gunther showing up on Friday Night SmackDown. I love Gunther. Gunther and Cody, let's go. Some people think this kind of happened out of the blue, but there was also an interaction early in the show, a backstage segment between Aldis and Paul Heyman. What does that mean? That means potentially the favor that Gunther asked for, which could have been a title shot. Originally, it probably was going to be against Brock Lesnar, but I think that's gone to the wayside. So now WWE needs a new plan for Gunther because he's one of the best wrestlers in the company and one of the biggest stars in the company. So maybe now the favor is Paul Heyman. I need a title shot. Okay, so now Paul Heyman goes to Nick Aldis and gets him potentially a title shot. Maybe that's the story behind Gunther and Cody. Otherwise, the attack on Cody from Gunther seems a bit random. But now they can totally make a story out of this. Maybe it starts random, but Gunther wants to be the champion. Maybe he sees that on Monday Night Raw, there's too many things going on with the World Heavyweight title. There's Jacob Fatu going after it. There's the whole bloodline. There's Seth Rollins wants it. Braun Breaker wants it. And then he goes to Friday Night SmackDown, and he doesn't see a very long list. Where's CM Punk? Where's Randy Orton? Great. Gunther slides in, makes his presence known, and now it's going to potentially be Gunther and Cody. I would absolutely love to see Gunther dethrone Cody Rhodes and become the undisputed WWE champion. That would be fucking awesome. And then maybe there is that story behind there that the favor between Paul Heyman and Gunther was that, and then he went to Nick Aldis to kind of push for it, and now there might be potentially a match. Maybe not a Backlash, maybe that's too soon, but maybe at some point we do get a really extensive Gunther and Cody feud, which no matter how it comes together, I'm excited about that. I really am excited about that. And so I think that's a bright spot because WWE and SmackDown specifically need like a a Cody's equal in the main event level. It was Randy Orton. It was maybe going to be a CM Punk who might move over to SmackDown, but it definitely could be Gunther. And then I think something then could then happen with Ilya Dragunov in that mix, because I think Ilya Dragunov is also a main eventer. He just needs to be booked right, but his matches, his intensity, everything about Ilya says professional, and I think that's really important as well. And then another note from SmackDown would be that we saw the debut of Ricky Saints, formerly known as Ricky Starks in AEW and on the Independents. He's a Texas guy like myself, so I've been on a bunch of shows with Ricky for a very long time, and I'll leave my personal opinions out of it. I'll just specifically talk about what we saw on Friday Night SmackDown. Now, we know that Ricky is in WWE, mostly because he's really close friends with Cody Rhodes. They grew that friendship when they were in AEW. They also had a feud in AEW. I also believe Ricky is close friends with CM Punk and is also close friends with Jade Cargill. I do not know anything personally about their relationships. I don't know anything personally about Cody or Jade really at all. I know a few things personally about Ricky just because we've interacted a few times at shows and things of that nature. But I just do judge the character of someone who hangs around CM Punk a lot and thinks they're quote-unquote good guy. CM Punk is a fraud. He masquerades as a good guy, and he's a con artist. And so, you have to kind of question the character maybe of Ricky a little bit if his best friend is fucking CM Punk, which I don't know if he is. This is all just me speculating and rumors, but I certainly do know that he's very, very close friends with Cody Rhodes, hence the reason why he got to debut on SmackDown against Cody Rhodes, because Cody Rhodes made it happen. And the internet is saying that, a couple things from the internet about Ricky Saints' debut. I've seen my share of bad debuts, but Ricky Saints' SmackDown debut will go down as the worst debut in the history of WWE. That might be a little harsh. Ricky Saints just had the worst pro wrestling debut of all time. No pop and booed. Effeminate posing, shorter than Danhausen, botched promo. WWE need a signed talent who doesn't look like a fan got granted Make-A-Wish. And so there's a couple more of those things. I didn't think Ricky Saints' debut was the worst of all time. I mean, that's like a very aggressive. I mean, Danhausen had one of the worst debuts ever and is now one of the most over superstars on the WWE roster. And so Ricky does have a ton of charisma. He can talk on the mic. He does look good. I think he can get himself over, but I don't think his debut went over well. He had no pop. He kind of botched his promo. People are saying he doesn't have charisma, which is a weird thing to say. The dude oozes kind of charisma, and he also lost in his debut. So I wouldn't say it's the worst debut of all time, but I wouldn't say that it set Ricky up for success in WWE. Now, 100% I think he could be a United States champion. I think he can be an Intercontinental champion. I think he can be a long-time WWE superstar. Kind of like, I don't know, maybe like a Sami Zayn, but maybe not even getting that over. But I think that mid-card is kind of his ceiling. But again, I could be totally wrong, and Ricky could take the ball, run with it, and become the fucking best thing that WWE has ever had to offer with his charisma, his promo, his look, all this type of stuff. But I do think fans are kind of getting sick of like the arrogant, I'm better than you type of character. I think MJF overdid it because his whole MJF and AEW, his whole shtick is basically borrowed from other people. Trick Williams is kind of doing it now as well. Ricky Saints basically did it. I mean, Edge and AEW called Ricky kind of like the cheap version of The Rock, which is kind of true. And so I think the more original you can get, the more authentic you can get, the more people are going to buy into you. Because if they see someone else in you, they're immediately going to think of that person and not you. That's why I think MJF is extremely mediocre, and some people think he's amazing. Never seen it, because I think all of his shtick is borrowed, manufactured, and not organic, and a little bit with Ricky as well. Not to say you can't take bits and pieces from superstars who've been famous and really, really good over the years and add that into your character, but you should exude a level of authenticity about yourself that when anyone thinks of you, they only think of you. And I just don't see that with Ricky or with Trick Williams. But when I look at Braun Breaker, when I look at Oba Femi, when I look at Gunther, those people are very, very authentic. I mean, Braun Breaker came from a family of wrestlers, and I still don't even think of those people in his family. I think of Braun Breaker, Gunther, totally original. right? Obafemi, like, okay, let's go, the ruler, let's go. So I think that needs to come out a little bit more for some of these guys, that authenticity piece, while, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, kind of ramping it up times 100 so you can exude that charisma and ooze that and ooze that aura through the screen, through the people watching, so they understand exactly who you are, what you're about, and why you're doing those things. And so I wouldn't say that Ricky Saint's debut is the worst of all time, but it wasn't amazing. And now he's kind of on an uphill battle to gain the admiration, trust, and let's say, respect of the SmackDown and WWE audience. But that's it. That's the May 1st edition of Friday Night SmackDown. Some of those highlights, most important things leading into Backlash coming up. But what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love. Cheers.